This is iRacing. The Temple of Speed, the jewel on the Grand Prix Legends calendar, and the home of Italian motor racing. Welcome one and all to round 12 of season 2 in the Lotus 49s here on the Global SimRacing Channel from all of us here at GSRC. That will be myself, Joseph Black, leading the way alongside Sagar Bakshi, and behind the cameras will be Daniel Costello, and those cameras will be provided by Dougie Beard. I'm excited for this prospect here today, and well, here from ourselves is our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Monza. This track has a major place in racing history, not just for the legendary races, names, and cars that have been here, but because it was the third purpose-built car racing circuit in the world. It's often discussed and reverenced among fans, and especially by Italians who have nicknamed it the Temple of Speed. In fact, the Ferrari fans here are so famous for their devotion that they have been dubbed the Tifosi and never fail to show up in droves. While the real world offers only 3 feasible layouts to race on due to safety, in iRacing, the inclusion of the oval and the lack of safety concerns gives it a stunning 9 versions drivers can choose from. The modern GP layout is of course the most well known, with its long history of hosting the Italian Grand Prix. But the oval and combined circuits allow those who thirst for more speed to satiate that craving with its insanely high banking. Indeed, incredible velocities are a staple of just about every version you can race here. Draft battles are not uncommon, no matter which car you're racing. But the inclusion of the chicanes makes using an outbraking maneuver a much more tricky way of overtaking. The circuit is notorious for drivers getting tangled up with each other while running side by side in these slow and cumbersome corners. In fact, one of the greatest dangers for drivers is the first few laps when the field is still clumped together and attempting to navigate them 2 and 3 wide. While there are other modern circuits with high-speed straights, the fact that Monza sits inside the Royal Park just north of Milan and is still tightly lined with trees heightens the sense of speed here. All in all, Monza is unmatched in its history, thrills, and great racing. Its significance in motorsports history and culture is sure to be unchallenged for years.
Now we all know modern Monza, but Sagar, the old circuit without the chicanes and with an entirely different curva parabolica is a different beast.
It is unlike any other, and this is where the namesake came from, the Temple of Speed. The Autodromo Nazionale Monza combined without the chicanes is a grueling 10-kilometer or 6.214 mile with 5,750 meter road course with a high-speed oval attached to it. The combined circuit was introduced in 1955 just north of Milan. This is going to be a challenge for the drivers to manage the high-speed sections here from 1966. The chicanes were added then on.
Yeah, it certainly will be a very, very good prospect. Of course, opened over 100 years ago now. The drivers will be competing for round 12 of their Grand Prix Legends season. And this is how the standings stack up. Audrius Valenteus has that title in his grasp, 540 points at the top of the field. Topi Kortuniemi just under 50 points behind, and Togo Hisada in that 3rd place. Kevin Verbruggen over 100 points off of our leader, but under pressure from Nicola Cocchi if either of them can finish high up today. And then Seb Tixier and Gary Ho locked in battle for 6th and 7th. John Olsen, Pedro Temaladri and Jorge Nieva round out the F1 driver standings. How's it looking in F2?
For the F2 category, it's going to be just as tight with Victor Alonso Diaz with 266 points, leading the charge in front of Tobias Harvney with 43-point deficit right now. Alan Graham with 53-point deficit in third. Not too shabby and not too far back to make anything happen here tonight. Doug Cloud in fourth, Mats Linden in fifth, Renato Janke in sixth, Campbell Wallace in seventh, Thomas Sonny Sinha in eighth, Andreas Hecht in ninth, and Sergei Brodkin in 10th.
Yeah, those are your driver standings. And now to the Cup of Nations, and it's Ukraine with Audrius Valenteis representing them at the top of the field. 634 points their way, Finland in second place. Japan 90 points off of the back of Finland, of course. Togo Hisada, their head up there with the Netherlands in fourth. Spain, Italy, the US, Hong Kong, Australia and France round out the top 10. But yeah, it is one of those seasons that Audrius Valenteis has absolutely dominated, and it is the final round of the season, isn't it?
Is. So a long way up until this point, but right now it's a 14-lap shootout for the drivers here at Monza in these epic cars. These Lotus machines, these 49s are special because it's not a car you could just jump and attack with, is it?
No, you can't. I mean, it's one of those cars that's very, very unstable, I think, for the drivers, and so they're just going to have to wrangle it through all of the corners, drive-throughs at 17x, and disqualification at 25. We'll see how many points they rack up in the 14 laps around Monza. Qualifying is getting underway, and we'll see these drivers do 2 laps of the historic circuit. But of course, the camera is set up for the modern one, so we see the cars peek out of the trees as they head through the Ascari chicane. But it's corners that we all know and love, corners that we almost all know off by heart. And at the moment, they're about to set their first lap times on the board.
Here they come, setting their times now and trickling in. And I hinted at the difficulty of these cars as we go to a couple of iconic tracks throughout the weekend. You can see there that the driver gets on the loud pedal, and you have to be patient. The rear tires will punish you if you pick up the gas too aggressively. And it really is going to test your confidence, your hands and your feet all at the same time. In modern Formula cars, you can just trust the downforce.
Look at that first corner, that elevation they've got, the rotation they've got in terms of angle from the ground is sensational, and it's a very, very good watch indeed. We're seeing lap times of around 2:22, a 2:22, 2:17 for Togo Hisada is beating out everybody else. The banking here is truly sensational, and just to watch these drivers fly through it is a privilege. And in the cars that you would be expecting, look at that speed that Hisada's able to build up. The bumps on the ramp, he's not going to worry about those, but they will make for great viewing on the onboard shots today.
And we're going to get glimpses of these curves and this high banking oval run here at Monza, and it just goes to show you how difficult it is. The cracks in the concrete there, the elevation change, it all just goes coursing through a driver's body, and although we are in the simulator, you're still going to feel the G's a little bit.
You certainly are. I mean, it's the closest that these drivers are really going to be able to get to this modern circuit. I think it's the closest to what all of the drivers are going to be able to get, because of course the modern circuit is very, very different indeed. Hisada is the first driver to have been able to fly himself towards a time, and well, he's going to look for another one right here, right now, with just over a minute left in this qualifying session. And well, I mean, a lot of the drivers, what they do is they might tend to go out a little bit later just so they can get that little bit extra track evolution, but not here with those lap times being so long.
Definitely not. You're going to need to use every inch of this track and every second that you are given. As you can see, drivers are already trickling in their second lap times, but with just 40 to go, everybody's got to get the hurry up and go on right now. Right now, it's Topi trying to get the hurry up and go on. The giddy up and go is set for his machine. That number 1 is trying to find a good lap time. Can he find pole position here and now with 20 seconds left to go on the clock? So close.
So close, but yet so far for Topi Courtiniemi. He finds himself still, though, on the top row of the field, 2/10 off of the back of Togo Hisada. What can Pedro Temaladri do from 6th place? It doesn't look like he's going to improve in terms of positions, as he will be just behind Sequeiro. 4 drivers within a second of Togo Hisada as the checkered flag is waved, and we will bring to an end our qualifying session. And, well, that's one of the corners that will be one of the most unique ones today. The arrows pointing straight on, but our grid for today's race is set, and we will see what the drivers will be able to do from here. It'll be Topi Courtiniemi alongside Togo Hisada, our pole man on the front row of the field, Nicola Cocchi and Hervé Trengarade alongside each other, Leo Sequeiro and Pedro Temaladri on the 3rd row, and then Seb Tixier and Kevin Verbruggen on the 4th. Carl Ridley and Gary Ho round out the top 10.
Over to the 11th position in 12th, row 6, Glenn Becker and Ika Cosialo, excuse me for the mispronunciation, Alan Graham and Ray Oliver, Mikhail Zabala and John Olsen, Matthew Raymond and Laust Olsen, Michael Grinsgler and Cam Porter round out row 10.
Yeah, that's Grissinger alongside Porter on the 10th row of the field, Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado alongside Dylan Freckleton on the 11th, and then Yanis Carpentier and Kurt Clapper on the 12th. Jana Lehmann and Alistair Morton on the 13th row of the field, and Renato Yankee and Tobias Hornby on the 14th. Mats Linden and Robert Plumley round out the top 30, and then just to go through the final few drivers, Thomas Tuba, Campbell Wallace, Thomas Sonny Sinner, Jorge Nieva, Matthew Maudsley, Angel Granda, Tyler Sheaf and David Miller for our 19-row, 38-car field. Interesting to see and interesting to note that Nieva did not set a qualifying time, one of those that we'd be expecting up at the top of the field, and one of those that we might be seeing at some point soon have to fight his way up. You can hear the engine revs, you can see the fans in the grandstand here at Monza, the most iconic circuit as far as motor racing is concerned, and we've thrown it way back to 60 years ago. In fact, exactly 60 years ago when they had this layout. They're lined up on the grid, they're ready for this race. With the bright sunny skies here at Monza, the action gets underway now, and it's going to be a good launch off of the line from Togo Hisada. He's going to lead into the first corner, but it looks like Topi Courtiniemi actually is going to get a little bit better run into the first. But those top two got such good starts in comparison to the rest of the field. The split between them and third place is about 4 or 5 tenths of a second. Sequeiro and Verbruggen are going to try to put Cocchi under pressure as they head over the top of the track. That is a great view, and it's going to be a great view for Topi Courtiniemi even more when he's able to take the lead of the race, which he does. Slightly poor exit for Hisada as there's contact and damage further back. Carpentier and Grissinger both with meatballs, as well as almost that with their tyre completely off. I think that might have been Thomas Tuba, Branda Sinner, and loads of different drivers involved in incidents on the first lap. But at the top of the field, Courtiniemi leads.
It's going to be a drag through towards turn 1, or I should say the modern turn 1 chicane that we're going to blast right through at nearly 180 miles an hour, and right into the rear end goes Courtiniemi into Hisada and narrowly avoids disaster, but there goes off Courtiniemi, and there is more disaster in the background.
Seb Tixier on the back of the drivers in front. That was a huge moment and a huge off for himself. Very, very unfortunate indeed. He rejoins in 24th, but he's lost so much time. Looking back at the top of this field, Hisada has a little bit of breathing room. Courtiniemi's not going to allow Verbruggen any. He pulls alongside. Will he be able to pull ahead with the run? The answer will be a curt yes, and he is up into that second spot once again, but I think it might have been Tixier tagging the back of the Finnish driver that cost him all that time. Fights all the way up and down this order. this is exactly why we have the classic Monza circuit here. The drivers pushing each other to the very limits, and it doesn't look like it's going to be at its end. And we're still on the first lap.
Whoa, and Laus Olsen having a wheel pop off. That's a left rear there. And the Denmark driver is going to have a troublesome drive back down to pit road. Looking at the 8th place driver right now in a steep battle with the cars around it as we come down the front stretch.
Yeah, 32 survivors from the first lap will make that 30 as Grissinger and Olsen are trying to continue on with Meatball Flag. These two very close together as we're going to get our first GSRC replay of the day. What are we going to see? Thomas Tuber, and that's a driver on the lowdown. Who is that? I think that might have actually been Tuber having that spin and then just more going on. That is one of the drivers at the top, the number 3 of Jorge Nieva, trying to fight his way through the field, and he just went a little bit too high, and the domino effect has caused all of these drivers all the way across, a couple to having aerial moments, and oh my goodness me, that's what happens at the banking, and unfortunately that's why we can't get that anymore, as a tyre appears to be racing one of the drivers at the front of that group. Bit of time lost for Kevin Verbruggen there, I think, as Courtaniemi took the lead and Hisada looked alongside. They may well go 3 wide if Hisada can get a good enough run out of the first corner, and Courtaniemi has that very brief lead. Is Verbruggen going to try and pull the trigger? Is Ridley going to try and pull the trigger on the back of Hisada? Not quite yet, just waits in behind. In fact, the top 11 still all within 1 second of each other, all within 4/10 of each other. Then it's a 2.6 gap back to Cam Porter, so this group is really just having a look to see who's going to survive the race of attrition. Another GSRC replay this of slightly further on from this race. What happened to Seb Tixier? He's in the number 7, the maroon car. He's going to be on the inside, and I think he does just tag the side. Oh my word, he's going to go upside down, and that's where the contact came. And Seb Tixier, to not have a meatball off the back of that is insane, but the car right in front of him, the number 8 of Leo Sequeiro, well, it's fair to say that's a bit.
Fair to say indeed. Here we go right now. The number 4 and the 14 challenge each other on the racetrack, but settle in single file line. The 4 gets the advantageous run on the 14 coming down into Curva Parabolica. Down the front stretch we go racing yet again. 3/10 is the gap between our leaders right now. I thought that Verbruggen wasn't going to have an opportunity to get back to the rear end of Courtaniemi. But here he is right now, ready to challenge for the lead. The draft playing a huge part in what can assist these drivers get back into these battle packs, and seeped in them right now is 1 through 4.
Certainly is, and that's 1 through 5. It's Nicola Cocky. What a run he's got on Ridley, and he's able to just jump his way up into 4th place with no problems at all. Completely full throttle as they head through the banking, and Verbruggen very close to the barrier on the outside line. That was incredibly tight from the number 5. That's what we saw Jorge Nieva do earlier on, which saw his fate and meant that his race came to a close. We're going to get side by side for the lead once again. Verbruggen and Courtaniemi giving it a go. Ridley having a go back at Nicola Cocky, having a go back at Togo Hisada. Are we going to get all of these drivers trying to fight it out and trying to duke it out for the lead? Not quite yet. Ridley on the outside of Hisada, and that's going to be somebody off. Temaladri just went too quick into the first corner, tried to take a bit of overspeed and dropped down. I think he just dipped a couple of his front tyres into the gravel, and Topi Courtaniemi stays ahead of Verbruggen for the time being. Togo Hisada waiting in the wings, but the racing so far has been high intense.
It sure has, with a field this thick with drivers. Over 30 taking the green flag, and only a few of them taken out on the first lap. Although we didn't have the tragic chicane accident that we saw in real life, we did see some accidents take place here at Monza, just as you'd expect for any trip to Italy. A track that has just seeped into history, like you said earlier, 100 years old, just north of Milan. Is just absolutely fantastic to be here at the Temple of Speed and driving these, well, gutly machines. They're just guttural beasts, aren't they?
They are, and it's period accurate as well, the 49s racing here.
Yeah.
Of course, the oldest cars that we have on our agenda, and it wasn't quite an overlap. They were designed in 1967, or they made their debut in 1967, and this layout was used last
66.
in 1966. I got my times crossed over, but either way, that's a very, very tight one indeed, and it would have been its predecessor that would have raced around here. But still, this means that we get to see racing that we wouldn't have otherwise seen around this circuit in the top three. I mean, this is just they're putting on a clinic here, and Nicola Cocky and Carl Ridley swapping right in behind them as well. They're giving it a fair whack as well, and yeah, this is just going to be sensational racing all the way through this one. Toby Courtiniemi leading the way. Kevin Verbruggen, who's shown that he's happy to take the risks. He's happy to take the upper line if he can get the exit. And look at that bumping on the exit of that. That's sensational stuff to see that they're able to hold on to these what are pretty unstable cars, and all of the top five split by less than a tenth between them. Courtiniemi holds the lead. Hisada has a look to the inside of Verbruggen. This doesn't go for it. Nicola Cocky holds on ahead of Ridley, but each of these drivers is on an absolute knife edge.
And you can see from that onboard shot how much of a knife's edge that it is for all of the drivers to have to deal with, whether you're leading or you're following. It's just a challenge through and through. The suspension is just soft. You can see the drivers bouncing and continue to bounce over every single bump in the racetrack. And of course, as we drive the historic layout, the bumps are fierce. They absolutely are, because don't forget, this is back in a time where it would have been a lot more labour intensive to develop the completely smooth roads we have now, and nigh impossible with the way they were doing it back in the day. So that's why we're seeing a lot more bumps. That's why we see a lot of the cars still bouncing on the exits of corners as well. Well, they would have also been very, very low indeed to the ground. So that's just it. There's so many different things added to these cars that make this such a great race to watch, and such a great series to watch as well, as we have done throughout the course of the season. And it's the right place to have a finale, isn't it? It really is. What other place to go to than one of the oldest racetracks in history? And of course, as we talk about this, we have to take a look at John Olsen's charge. I think we have to talk about the discretion that drivers are expressing right now. They have the opportunity to jostle for position. They definitely have the overspeed in certain parts of the track. But here and now, some drivers are choosing to not go for it. Others are in fact going for it, such as the number 4, now inheriting the lead of the race. The Italian man trying to go for the home track win.
Last time he raced around Monza in one of our series, it didn't quite go so well for him. Contact with Tixier, but Tixier's out of the race and out of the fight for it. But he's also going to drop off of the lead of it. The slipstream is going to benefit Courtiniemi, and it's going to benefit Verbruggen. But I think Verbruggen might just be taking it a little bit easy here. He wants to sit behind, he wants to be patient, and most importantly, he wants to be in this fight all the way to the end of the race. You don't want to go too hard too early and go for it on lap 5 and maybe take too many risks, because at the end of the day, somebody else will be always waiting in the wings for you to make a mistake, and then you're the one under pressure. But when you're sitting in that 3rd place, or even the 5th place as Carl Ridley is now, I think that's the ideal spot for you to be in, right at the back of this group, because you can just watch and wait and be a spectator and watch the patience wear thinner. Then you can pounce upon the opportunities.
I think definitely that's going to be the case of the winning strategy tonight, is just playing the patient game and biding your time. Perhaps Courtiniemi isn't in the best position on the racetrack right now, being out in the lead and having to slaughter those sausage curbs all by yourself, and giving the assistance to the cars behind might be the better position to be in. You can save a little bit of fuel, perhaps. You can perhaps conserve a little bit of your tire scrubbing as well, as you know the benchmark and the milestone that you're chasing. it just makes more sense. But Korniemi knows better than us as broadcasters, that's for sure, as he has the number 1 attached to the side of that car.
Certainly does. That means he's got the highest I rating in the lobby. And, well, of course, all of these drivers in the top 4 at least, very high up in terms of that list. Carl Ridley, a name that we wouldn't have necessarily expected based on iRacing, but we have seen before what he's capable of, and we will see again what he is capable of. He's fought Nicola Cocchi so hard so far this race, but the home man is going for the race lead once again ahead of Korniemi, and he will take it with all of these drivers just waiting in the wings in behind. And all of them, I mean, they are just waiting for that mistake, aren't they? As it looks like slightly further back, there's been a couple of moves. Gary Ho now up to the lead of the chasing pack. But the top 5 are handling these cars so well, and they're just they are getting airtime out of that final corner, aren't they? It really looks like they are.
Getting airborne with enough time to be served wine on that flight, that's for sure. It is getting airborne coming out of the final corner as the cars jostle their way across the stripe for the 5th time. We make our way onto the 6th lap of running. Korniemi and Verbruggen right now, the 1-2 punch with the 4 and the 2 and 3-4 spot. And it seems to me that these 5 are definitely working together and wanting to escape the battles behind. That way they can be, well, gloves off for the last 5 laps or so. But for now, they're definitely expressing a lot of this patience, and I think we're going to be in this holding pattern per se for maybe another 5 laps or so.
Yeah, I think so. It's that they are historically, or they have been very patient indeed, have all of these drivers. So they do wait for the right time to make those moves. They will wait for the right time to make those moves, and it's just about when those opportunities come, can they take them? There has been a couple in the past that have been I think over defensive would be the way that I would use it, where they don't quite have as much guts as they would plan on having. They're just giving it a go. There we go. That's, I mean, that was a great shot from Morton on the right-hand side of your screens. Alistair Morton demonstrating what quite can happen when the drivers go over that little bump with even a tiny bit of steering angle. They have to set themselves up for going out of the corner almost right about now. Here's a replay for ourselves to see what happened for Ilkka Kotisalo further down the order. The number 12 goes for the inside. I think he just outbrakes himself, and they're just, I mean, he's taking avoiding action, really. He doesn't want to fly into anybody else, and instead, well, let's just be glad it's Sim.
Holy Toledo, as that Lotus becomes a tortoise, flipped upside down on the back of its shell. The assistants get flipped back over, but like you said, thankfully this is just the sim. But right now, I think wanting to go back in time is going to be the number 4, as he was in the lead of this race, now sits steeped in this battle for P2. And the side-by-side battle continues between these drivers and these unrelenting machines with no traction control, no ABS, no power steering whatsoever to give them any sort of reprieve through the steering wheel. It's all mechanical grip. There isn't even a little rear wing to give you any sort of downforce.
Yeah, none of that modern rubbish. This is racing at its rawest. This is exactly what the designers of these cars would have tried to envision all those years ago. Think about the 49 and the fact that it was invented in that 1947, or it was designed and used in 1967 even. I can't speak today. The 49 is just such a sensational machine, and Colin Chapman will be watching on from the pit box. Even if not physically, he'll be watching on from above, and just glad about the legacy the cars have, that they're still being raced 60 years on from their debuts. Zabala is having a look at Olsen, and as a result, that means Temaladri is able to have a go on Mikhail, who I think just took took his eye off the driver behind momentarily, which means Temaladri can go through Parabolica and pick up that place. Zabala drops in behind to 9th place, and he just took his foot off the gas. He just took his eye off the ball for a moment, looking for a move up. Temaladri trying to defend that position, and Mikael Zabala representing Niue today. Fun fact about Niue, the first country to ever have Wi-Fi. Didn't know that. Now you do, but Zabala is just really trying to hassle Temaladri on here, and the 14 at the moment is in the early stages of his defence is able to just hold on and is able to hold off. In fact, Zabala in behind. He might be making a move on John Olsen now. He gets the run, he does pull alongside, but as soon as he steps out of that slipstream, that run is non-existent.
Taking a look at the Canadian driver Cam Porter right now, driving that number 20 and trying to find victory lane, but 17 and the 2 invert their positions because their battle is going to go nearly 3 wide up ahead as they continue their battle for the lead. But here and now we're looking at this 4-way debacle. Here goes Cam Porter trying to find a way through, gets narrowly ahead, but can he make the move stick? They might touch, just narrowly avoid it, but out goes wide Porter's competition of Oliver.
Just out onto the grass and the gravel, and it was, I mean, a pretty impressive move from Ray Oliver to be able to hold on to the car in the first place, let alone be able to stay in the fight. And he's on the inside of Graham. Can he get through? Yes, he can, because he takes a much tighter line. Graham washes a little bit wide, and Oliver makes a picture-perfect move, really, as we've got to move for the lead. Courtaniemi and Koki alongside each other, heading into the Ascari chicane. It will be Topi Courtaniemi later onto the brakes, and staying ahead of Nicola Koki for the time being. And that is exactly the move that he would have wanted to make into the Ascari chicane, just later on the brakes, but able to get that turn in. Did not run off at all into any of the gravel traps either side of the circuit. Koki gets the run, he pulls alongside, but once again, he's going to be the victim of getting that confidence to pull alongside, but then realising that pulling alongside means that you don't have the slipstream anymore, you don't have that momentum, and it's going to be a difficult one for them to swallow. I think it's going to have to be a lot of late braking here today as we head over to the last 5 laps.
Courtaniemi definitely under attack right now. That number 4 is looming there no longer as he gets in front and towards turn 1. The battle still continues here and now for the top 5. They're not done just yet with 6 laps left to go. It's all about to pop off. I think the boiling point is definitely here. Courtaniemi has been defending all race long, or hasn't needed to defend, I should say, all race long. He's been pretty fluid in giving up that first place, letting it come back to him when the slipstream comes back his way as we ride through the high banking again with Verbruggen.
It amazes me every lap, the runs that they're getting out of the final corner, and it's just sensational out of the banking what they can do. Nicola Koki takes the lead of the race at his home race, and Topi Courtaniemi just waits in behind as Toga Hisada on the back of the Dutch driver that we are riding on board with right now. They've pushed each other, so I mean they're still locked in back. Don't forget, it's not just 9 laps, it's 9 laps more or less going around twice, as we saw the main straight is split, so it's more or less going around the circuit twice. And so it's, as we say earlier on, it's very, very long lap times indeed. So it's not just 9 laps. It feels more like a traditional 18 in this series. But we've still got 6 to go, and we'll see whether they're able to keep it up as we get an on or off-board shot of behind Gary Ho. And having a look at the man who's currently in 6th place is defending from Temaladri. And, well, it's great to see that motion rig. But what does make me nervous is we know that Seb Tixier was also in a motion rig today. I wonder how that was and when he went upside down on the first lap.
Man, we gotta tell our producer to turn that camera off. It makes me jealous. I want a motion rig so badly. Gary Ho there with a fantastic setup, running VR as well. It's looking fantastic. Here's Seb Tixier right there in his motion rig VR headset setup. And look at that. It's just absolutely fantastic. The button boxes, the steering wheel. just all comes together into one of our favorite hobbies in the world. And where do we want to spend our time? Just attached to our sim rigs.
Exactly. Why not? Of course, all of these drivers have varying pieces of equipment, but it's fair to say that anyone who has a motion rig, I am insanely jealous of. I think you're absolutely right, because it's the greatest way to get immersed in this, as Carl Ridley gets to run on not just one but two drivers. He's up into third place, and he might make the move for second as well, with Courtaniemi dropping down behind Nicola Cocchi. He's going to take the low line on the banking, and Carl Ridley will still be about a tenth off of the back at the moment of Tommy Courtaniemi. Nicola Cocchi continues to lead the way, but it's all about who can get the run out of it, and he's got a huge bump. That's going to lose him momentum, and that means that Tommy Courtaniemi is able to take that lead of the race back straight from the countryman, and well, Carl Ridley is going to try and give it a go on the slipstream of the drivers in front as well. He looks to the inside of the first corner of Cocchi, but he was in the slipstream with Courtaniemi, and as soon as Courtaniemi swept across to cover off Cocchi and to get himself the better line into the first corner, Ridley saw that he didn't really have much to fight with.
Remember earlier on in this race, we were keeping our eye on Ridley, that number 17. They were sitting back in 5th place very patiently. They made their way up into P3 at just the right opportunity, and with 5 laps left to go, might be in a prime position to sit on a podium, if not go for the winning move. Because with 3 laps left to go, it's definitely going to be an opportunity like in NASCAR, where you don't want to be in the first place position. You want to be in the second spot, as Ridley gets a big wiggle coming through the penultimate corners. Holy Toledo, they're losing out a ton of ground now.
Well, they certainly are, and this is an opportunity, but don't forget that there was a lead at one point of 1.1 seconds at the top of the field, so it can very, very quickly be brought down by the power of all of the drivers working together. And to put it in a very, very blunt, very modern way, the power of friendship to take themselves up to Courtaniemi at the top. And, well, it's going to be worked down quite a significant chunk, I think, even if he is able to work out that gap, just because these drivers are so sensational and they know how to work with each other. Carl Ridley with the fastest lap of this race, improving on his previous lap time, which was also the fastest lap of the race, as he tries to close in on Nicola Cocchi. He takes the lower line, so it's alternative. He's not thinking about lap time anymore. I think he's starting to think about the move.
Here it is. It's brewing now. The number 4 goes for the lead over Courtaniemi. He's going to take the advantageous run, but we all know that Courtaniemi has something brewing as well. He's plotting, he's scheming, and waiting for his move at over 200 miles an hour. The drivers have to think about how they can go wheel to wheel into the next dangerous braking zone.
Yes, and that's what they'll head towards now, with all of these drivers 2 by 2, apart from Courtaniemi, who's able to get the edge. Cocchi and Ridley will be alongside each other, and Ridley won't quite get the run. He wants to be on the outside of the corner, and that's exactly what Nicola Cocchi has done to be able to keep himself ahead. Verbruggen and Husada were alongside each other for longer, but in the end it was Verbruggen who was able to keep that one ahead. Ridley still pestering the back of Nicola Cocchi, and he has a look to the inside, but not too much of a look for the number 17, and he stays in the waiting in behind. It's just it's about playing such a patient game, and Togo Husada in 5th, that's kind of a defining feature of his driving, is that he likes to wait, he likes to watch, and then he can take his chances. But the number 2 has just the 4 laps to go here for those 4 overtakes to be made, and I think he's going to have to start to think about trying to climb his way further up. If I wanted to be anyone in this fight, I'd be Kevin Verbruggen. Pressure's on Ridley right up ahead, and then ahead of him, Cocchi and Courtaniemi within catchable distance.
Here we see Togo Husada back out a little bit, coming down into Curva Parabolica, just giving a little bit of breathing room to Verbruggen up ahead to be able to work his magic and see if he can get a move done on Kyle Ridley ahead to disturb what's going on. And there it is. It's all working out well for Husada now, as Verbruggen looks to disturb Kyle Ridley out in front as we bounce going in towards turn 1.
their way through the last 3 laps of this race. Nicola Coffey gets the run on Topi Courtaniemi. He's going to be able to pull alongside, and it might be another lead switch between these two. And at the moment, these two look insurmountable for the lead at the moment. Carl Ridley is going to get the best run that he has had so far, and suddenly he's proven me instantly wrong, and he's past Courtaniemi, and now looks the latest driver to try and pressure Nicola Coffey. I have to say, Carl Ridley has played this one absolutely perfectly, from fighting for 4th and 5th for so long, to climbing his way up, and now being in 2nd. Courtaniemi and Verbruggen side by side, Ridley and Cocky side by side, and now we almost have a new race leader. We do have a new race leader, and we have contact. Topi Courtaniemi. I mean, somebody had to blink, and Courtaniemi and Cocky made contact. They fought for the lead for so long, and now the hands have been changed.
Definitely not the way we wanted to see that battle end, but the battle for the lead has not concluded just yet, because Verbruggen into the lead with the number 517 in second place, goes side by side with Hisada. Oh my goodness, as these drivers keep making my heart palpitate and beat out of its chest with bated breath, they send it through the corners. Here's a replay of what happened coming down the front stretch.
Topi Courtaniemi just ahead of the number 5 here, and well, they're going to pull 2 by 2. I think Courtaniemi just runs out of room. He sits in behind, he just moves across. That's unawareness of the 5th driver in this fight of Togo Hisada. And, wow, Hisada's done an incredible job. Look at that grip from Togo Hisada. Somehow clings onto that car.
Holy smokes. Hisada should not still be in this race, but somehow keeps it out of the barriers and avoids taking some race-ending damage. Be counting his lucky stars and buying a lottery ticket at this point.
Yeah, I mean, is it talent or is it luck? We won't know, but it will be Kevin Verbruggen with the fastest lap of the race. He's able to stretch his legs, taking that lap off Carl Ridley, and he and Hisada have waited for so long. Verbruggen especially, we've barely seen him go for a move for the number 5. And the fact that he's managed to make his way up to the top, this is almost perfect timing. I say almost because here comes Kyle Ridley to snatch that lead away. He held it for a matter of seconds, maybe not even seconds, as they headed down the main straight before Verbruggen took it, and then Courtaniemi had that contact. But now Ridley has the lead, and it is confirmed. He is the new race leader, and Verbruggen is just waiting in behind. But they will start swapping. They will make those moves. The Dutch driver in behind our race leader sees now as his opportunity to fight for the lead and fight for the win. We've had 5 fighting for the lead. We had 11 at the early stages of the race. Then we dropped to 6. Then we dropped to 5. And now we're down to the 3 remaining contestants.
And there can only be one winner at the end of the night. Here at Monza, who will it be with 2 to go? We're gonna take the white flag next time by. Right now, we have a long lap of running. Drivers putting in 2:22.6s for the leader, Kyle Ridley, that last time by. Best lap of the fast lap of the race will go the way of Verbruggen. 2:22.190.
This is indeed the fastest lap for Verbruggen, but it's the all-important race lead held by Ridley. The last race of the season. What a story it would be for Carl Ridley to take this victory. Of course, as I mentioned earlier on, the 17th highest iRating in this race, and he is very much holding a candle to some of the top names in the game. Of course, Topi Courtaniemi, the number 1 in that list. And we've got the number 2, the number 4, and the number 5 all were in that fight as well. It's 2, it's 5, and it's 17, but flip that around, and that's what we've got at the moment. Carl Ridley is going to try to hold on to the lead, but Verbruggen sits behind as they head down the main straight.
Here we go. Come down the main straight. Adjacent to the pit road, a couple of drivers down a half lap at this point in time. White flag is in the air thanks to Barney the flag man. Kyle Ridley has a great lead ahead of Kevin Verbruggen right now. Togo Hisada has been patient all race long, but is he too far back to make anything happen? Definitely not, as he goes for an attacking glance on Verbruggen, and Kevin has nowhere to go. He cannot defend this one. The run belongs to Togo Hisada here and now down the back straight. We go racing at Monza into the high banking oval.
Certainly do, and Togo Hisada did get the run, but he was on the lower side, which meant that he wouldn't have been able to get the better exit. But Verbruggen sits in behind. They might go 3 wide into Curva Grande here. They almost do, but it will be a tap of the wall for Kevin Verbruggen that sees him not able to pull alongside. Ridley is going to fight back with Hisada as we head to the last sweep of this Autodromo Monza circuit, and it will be Ridley sweeping back around the outside and sweeping back to the lead of the race.
Ridley, Hisada, Verbruggen almost going into the rear end, has to go for a pass on the slams on the front. Tries to get it stopped in time as we go side by side for the battle for the lead. It's going to continue all the way down to the checkered flag. Togo Hisada comes back through. The Japanese driver is trying to go for the win here in Italy over Kyle Ridley.
We've got 2 more overtaking opportunities for these drivers. They might not need the opportunities, they might not need the braking zones, but it's Ridley later into the Ascari chicane that sees him into the lead of the race. Hisada's going to try to get the exit. He braked earlier, which meant that he'll get the run out of Ascari. It's to Parabolica with these 3. They've all fought all race long. They all deserve this one. Who's out on top? Hisada will pull alongside and he will have the lead. Braking very early into the final corner. Ridley will be baited late, and Verbruggen's going to try to give it a go as well. Who is going to come out on top? We're not sure. We won't be sure until the line. Ridley leads this one, but Hisada gets the exit. It's going to be a photo finish at the end of season number 2 of 2026, and it's Kyle Ridley who holds on. Kyle Ridley by 0.034 ahead of Togo Hisada. Kevin Verbruggen comes home to round out that podium. Nicola Cocchi 4th, but very much deserved to be up with those top 3. They all deserve that victory today, and that might be the most sensational race I've ever seen.
That has to be the GSRC finish of the year. What a drag to the line. What a finish from Kyle Ridley. The number 17 on that door means nothing today as he walks away at the end of the season with a win and number 1 attached to that number plate.
What a victory, and we just saw a car cartwheeling just to show off right at the very end. I mean, we see drivers do donuts. We don't often see drivers do cartwheels, but Kyle Ridley is doing a victory lap here, and he thoroughly deserves it. What a drive from the Australian 17 to take the win at the end. He held his nerve. He took the approach into the final corner that Togo Hisada couldn't quite match. If it was later down the straight, if the finish line was more towards Curva Grande, then Hisada would have had it. But Ridley, in the end, it would have been very nervy moments for the number 17 in terms of the victory, but he got it done in sensational style. I mean, that's why we watch sim racing especially. That is exactly what we would have wanted to see today in terms of the race around Monza. And I was talking pre-broadcast about the layouts of Monza, and I said I think I prefer the modern one. I'm not quite so sure now. Our results for our Lotus 49 race around Monza is that Kyle Ridley takes the victory by 0.034 ahead of Togo Hisada. Kevin Verbruggen just sat back, and he was 2/10 off of the back of the Japanese driver. Nicola Cocchi, in his home race, came home 4th after unlucky contact, and Gary Ho, pretty quiet race all things considered, in 5th. Pedro Temeladri in 6th place, and Mikhail Zabala just behind 0.003 of a second, splitting 6th and 7th, and then John Olsen, Ray Oliver and Cam Porter rounded out the top 10.
For Lotus 49s, in 11th, it was Matthew Raymond. In 12th, Alan Graham. Mats Linden in 13th. Alistar Morton. Kurt Clapper in 15th. David Miller in 16th. Tobias Harnvey in 17th. Robert Plumley in 18th, Campbell Wallace in 19th, and Tyler Sheaf in 20th position.
Yeah, we had 38 drivers competing today, and we ended up with 22 taking the checkered flag on the lead lap. Renato Yankee and Michael Grissinger, those drivers who rounded out that field. Topi Courtaniemi and Dylan Freckleton 2 laps down. Seb Tixier, Janne Lehmann and Ilka Kotisalov and Lars Olsen and Thomas Tuba all 4 laps down. And fair play to those drivers who were out on the first lap who made their way back into the race. Hervé Trengerade was in 30th, 5 laps down, and then Matthew Maudsley, Glenn Becker, Yanis Carpentier, Jorge Nieva, and then Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, Leo Sequeiro, Angel Granda, and Thomas Sunny Sinha round out that order. We do have a driver in the interview room. I'm sure we're going to get plenty of them. I mean, I hope we get the chance to speak to Togo Hizada later on. But first, Kevin from Bruggen, of course, 3rd place in the final round of the season. Just what was it like being part of one of the best fights I've ever seen?
Yeah, that was very good fight, good fun. Yeah, Monza is just like no other track, especially this layout. It's you can be near the front if you've got any sort of speed, and so it's all about strategy and trying to place your car at the right position. So, but it also means sometimes going 3 wide, or especially the last lap, trying to find out what others will do. And yeah, it's just good fun racing.
Yeah, just take you back to that last lap quickly. And I mean, what was the mindset that you took into it? Because I'm sure we'll get the chance to speak to Togo in a bit, but I know that his one seemed to be braking early into corners and getting that turn in.
Well, yeah, I was mostly trying to get in the front for at the end of Curva Grande, going into the second, well, non-chicane, and then hoping to hold on from there. Unfortunately, I messed up on the banking, and or on the oval part, and I allowed Togo a chance to get up into second. So I tried to force the 3 wide on the main straight. I even hit the wall there, I think. So that was very close, but. But afterwards, I knew that Kyle would defend like mad. So I was trying to make it difficult for Togo, because he would have to manage both me behind and Kyle in front. And if I could make it difficult, but still allow him an opportunity to go for a move on Kyle, a late move, then maybe something would happen. I know, of course, you don't usually hope for something to happen with people in front, but that was my last, opportunity into the last corner. But he did. Togo and Kyle did very well. Congrats to Kyle for winning his first race, I believe.
Yes, and I mean he was an unlikely victor there, but that can be the magic of Monza sometimes. And well, speaking of Monza, I mean we took to the old layout that was just 1 year before was last race 1 year before the 49s took to the track for the first time. I mean, what are the comparisons between racing here on the historic layout and racing here on the modern one?
It's of course a very different track. Of course, you still have the modern layout as part of the track, but because you go onto the oval at the first part, it feels a lot more like oval racing, like pack racing. Because you could catch up from from tests earlier in the week, you could catch up from 1.7, 1.8 seconds behind if somebody in front did not have a draft. So it's just all about strategy, placing your car, but of course still. But of course, they didn't make it easy, because it's still a very difficult track. The oval is bumpy. You need to get high up there. There is, going onto the main straight from the oval, there is a jump, which you have to land every single time. So it's a very interesting track, and respect to the people who race these in real life, even in these kinds of cars, because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was watching that. I was saying that is probably my favourite corner I've seen, the final one where you do have that bump. Have you got anybody you'd like to thank for this race and for the whole season in general?
I just want to give a shout out to the community and also all the new drivers who joined this season. We've had a pretty successful season, I believe, with a lot of new drivers jumping in and also sticking for the season. And it's always nice to see some new names jump in, race new people. Hope to see them do well. So shout out to them.
Yes, and well, of course, we had Kyle taking a victory today, so we've always got new people coming to the top. Thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us today, and well, congratulations on your podium, and congratulations on the season as a whole.
Thank you. See you next season.
That was Kevin Verbruggen, who ended up third place in that race, 2/10, almost exactly 2/10 off of the second placed driver. That will be Togo Hisada, who caught up with Saga Bakshi.
Togo Hisada, we called you the patient man all race long, just biding your time, watching the battles unfold in front of you. Tell us, were you as calm, cool, and collected as we were making you out to be?
Oh yeah, it's my plan. Sitting behind. I was, I got the pole position, and at the end of the first lap, I have a 1 second gap to the second place driver, so might be think about running away, but soon enough, after half a lap later, I just got I just overtaken by a lot of guys, and I ended up P4 at the end of the second lap, and then realized that there is no point to battle, and after that I just cooling down tires and wait for the last 4 or 3 laps. I don't fight.
And fight indeed. And you put on such an amazing show. I mean, talk to us a little bit about your experience and what it was like to battle with Kyle Ridley there. And also, let's back it up. You went 3 wide down the front straight as well and avoided an accident that you should have been into the wall about. How did you keep it out of the wall?
It's just luck. It's unlucky that me and the Topi are touching with both our rear tires, but touching with that side walls, tire side walls. So my car did not jump after the tire contact. So that's why I'm keeping the car on the straight. And that's a little bit there's a lot of net code around us. Of course, I'm living in Japan, racing in my home in Japan, so a lot of ping, lots of net code contact, and it's just unfortunate, but at least I can stay on track, and the battle with Kyle, I was very impressed that that's the last corner of Cabo Grande, because I thought I'm ahead before the braking zone. So I'm just easily seal the deal, but he's brakes so late and pass me outside of the turn 1. That's impressive. After that is just I did as much as I could, but he's a little bit better.
Just comes down to one move at the end of the day. And that's all it took from Kyle Ridley to make that one stick. Togo, it's been a pleasure to speak with you and check in with how your race have gone. But on the P2 and on the season, is there anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody you'd like to thank?
At first, I have to say thank you to Topi Kortniemi, because he's great friends, great rivals, and we talk a lot with setups and other things, because this is the first season after the Lotus 49 received the tire upgrade. So we discuss a lot and practice a lot, and race, racing a lot. And it's bad ending for us to just making contact each other on the last round. But I want to say thank you to Topi Kortniemi.
Thank you so much, Togo. Have a great night. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there.
Thank you.
Well, we've got one more interview to go, and it's the man himself, our race victor for the final round of the Grand Prix Legends season number 2 in 2026. Welcome to the box, Kyle Ridley. Now, Kyle, I mean, Try to describe that with words, because I think I'd struggle.
Yeah, I would struggle very much so too. Very lost for words for the fact that I've won a race and was up there with some of the best tonight. So I'm a little surprised, a little lost for words, but yeah, big effort.
Yeah, it seemed to be a great effort. What do you think it was that just kept you up there with the big boys, as it were?
I've been improving a lot lately, so I've been trying to bridge that gap. I think tonight what really bridged that gap was the draft, and I got a good start. I avoided one of the big incidents at the start and was just able to sit there with them whilst we were pulling away from Gary Ho and all that from behind. I was just able to sit there, bite my time, and yeah, the draft was enabled, so I was able to put some moves on towards the end of the race, and I don't know how I held it up from Togo, but I got to check the replay. It was tight, but yeah, a very good result.
0.034 was the gap in the end between you two, and I think if the line was any later, I think it would have been incredibly close. But yeah, I mean, heading into that last lap, what was your approach? Because we saw that Togo had taken a different one to what he'd done for the rest of the race, really.
Yeah, I knew I was the lead car, so I didn't want to keep the foot pinned and build a gap so they can just leapfrog me. So I was keeping it at about 310, 308 with the banking, so it just limited their run. As soon as Togo went through, he had a lot less of a run than he should have, so I was able to get back underneath him, draft him, and go side by side through Curva Grande and just fight it out from there.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Now, of course, it's the final race of the season, and well, heading towards the next one. Does this heighten your expectations for yourself in the future?
I don't think I could ever match this. I mean, I scored a podium many years ago, so it is possible for me to do that, but usually my goal is to get a top 10. Qualify well, finish in a P10, like obviously 19th, 11th, and go for the next week. You know, I do this purely for the love of the car, and you know, to see the quick guys do what they do, just try to get myself there. But maybe I'll move my expectations to a top 6 each week. We'll never know.
Well, you were one of the top guys today, so you can take that as a victory. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for anything today, really?
Yeah, there's a few. I want to thank my my good friend Ray Oliver, who actually introduced this car to me and more or less made me do my first race in it. Completely unprepared on a Logitech wheel. It was quite an experience. But yeah, I want to give him a shout out for his continued support and the practice sessions we do. And I want to thank just all my friends and team members at SLM for just the support. And we've got a few out there this week. Well, these last few weeks, we've got a few out there doing their thing. So I just want to thank all of them for being out there.
Yeah, and well, that was in the commentary box. Thankfully, we were able to get him in. We were able to get him unbanned from the server. That was our new Grand Prix Legends race victor, Kyle Ridley. And that, in terms of the action, will be it. But Sagar, I mean, that was just a ridiculous race, wasn't it?
I mean, just to reflect back on an epic race start, a calm middle, and a chaotic race ending. What else could you ask for here with the Lotus 49s? It's just absolutely amazing to see them go around the racetrack, and especially around an iconic racetrack. I was treated to something I had never seen before.
No, I mean, I'm going to do some thinking about it, but I think that might be the greatest race I have ever watched. You can watch more from us here at the Global Sim Racing Channel later on. Well, later on today. We've got the IMSA Vintage Series coming up in just about, what will that be, an hour and a half's time around Spa-Francorchamps, so from one iconic circuit to another. And tomorrow, well, we've got the Classic Lotus Grand Prix. That's at a third, so we've got a three-peat for the season. That will be at Zolder. Then next week, we have Barcelona. The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya hosts the Grand Prix Tour in a 100% race where it is as close to real-life F1 as we can get in the W13 car on the iRacing game. And then we've got Willow Springs for the Porsche Owners Club on Tuesday, the 16th of June, depending on your time time zone. And well, that was just, it was a great race to be at today. And thank you very much to the whole team that we had for today's race. Of course, myself, Joseph Black, alongside Sagar Bakshi in the commentary box, Daniel Costello trying to guide us through all of the action and all of the, frankly, carnage, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But until next time, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.